So this drama may not be everyone's cup of tea, but there's a huge but to it. And to hear this but, you need to watch this video till the end. Hi guys, this is Farhad and welcome back to my channel Popcorn Reviews. If you're new to this channel, then please smash that subscribe button now. And as a video ritual, remember to like and comment on the video. Liking and commenting helps fuel the YouTube algorithm. And today we are going to be talking about a lesser known Malayalam film. It hasn't generated much of the buzz. In fact, I need to thank one of the members of my Digi family called Satish to actually recommend this film, and I finally had my chance. A little bit of a delay, I must admit, but I finally got to it. The Malayalam film that we are going to be talking about is OUSEPPINTE OSIYATHU. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. OUSEPPINTE OSIYATHU. This is a lesser known Malayalam film. There wasn't much buzz about it, and after watching it, I kind of figured why there was no buzz. Now, before I get to a review, a little bit of a story time, It's a little story of my experience of watching it before I get to the actual review. Now, once I finished the film, OUSEPPINTE OSIYATHU, I was kind of dismissive about it. I was like, did it click for me? It did not. It kind of felt a little bland for me somewhere. Some piece of the puzzle was missing, and this is sometime during the night when I watched it, last night. Now, strangely enough, the film was with me even as I woke up this morning, and I was constantly thinking about the characters and what happened in the film, and it wasn't leaving me. A part of me was, attached to the film, and it kind of gave me an impression that, hello, this is something that I was actually immersed in without even realizing it, without even giving into the subtext. I was actually invested in the drama, only to be dismissive because of some flaws at the end, which I'll get to in the video as well. As it turns out, I really liked the film, and it took me a while to realize. It doesn't usually happen this way, Normally, I'm very clear at the end of the film whether I've liked the film or I've not liked the film. This is a rare occurrence for me, wherein I seemingly disliked the film when it ended, only to like it because the film had stayed with me and because I could, connect the dots in the film later on, and I think that is the speciality of it. You have to give it time to process this film, and of course, this film is designed in such a way that it will not appeal to anybody. So if you're expecting, something like a crime thriller or a crime drama like Drishyam, this isn't your cup of tea. So coming back to the review, the hilly district of Idukki almost signifies a Shakespearean tragedy that is going on, and that is what the film, I would like to call it. It's a Shakespearean tragedy. Why do I say that? Because the foggy hills and all the ambience that is created visually is directly symmetrical to that of the characters in the film, the world that they are built in. And I think that's what, makes for an intriguing, immersive kind of an experience. It's very niche in its storytelling, but it's at the same time pretty, immersive should you choose to give this film an opportunity. Now, coming to the story and screenplay, one thing that I noticed, one of the key factors of this film remains its characterization. So the character of Osip, the fatherly figure, which is played by Vijayaraghavan, he's the family patriarch, by the way, and very stingy with his money. And he's a money lender as well, almost earned a living through the cardamom fields that he's taking care of. He runs a business of that as well. He's very stingy as a person, he's a patriarch, and so automatically his relationship with his children, featuring 3 kids, one is Michael, one is George, one is Roy, all these characters that are there, it's a little estranged kind of a dysfunctional family. You can call it a dysfunctional family. It almost reminded me of the other Malayalam film, which was Georgie. Georgie had a similar setup as well. Although the dynamics between the brothers was a little different, but at the same time, this central theme, also had a similar, kind of a setup. So, in a scene when you see Michael, talking about his role in his father's life, when he equates himself to a jeep, and says that he's almost like a jeep which is bound to function without any questions being asked. And I think that tells you a lot about what Michael is as a person, almost having suppressed his feelings inside and not able to express it out. His brother, Michael, by the way, is played by Dileesh Pothan. His brother, Kalavavan Shojon, he's a cop, by the way, and he's a more pragmatic kind of a person. The third and the youngest son, which is played by Hemant Menon, Roy, the character's name is Roy. He's a forest officer, and it's an interesting kind of a dynamics that is being built here, and the common thread that is linking these names or these characters is the financial status of these characters. Everyone wants money. Michael is a tehsildar, and he's a contractor basically. So he is debt ridden and he's being helped out by George. In another scenario, even Roy is debt ridden. So they all, the common link is that of the father who has the money but is very stingy and doesn't want to spend a penny on it. In fact, in a scene when each of the characters, land up and meet him, he actually questions their integrity and asks whether you've come to meet me or do you want to extract money from me, something on those lines. And that makes for an interesting dynamic in the group. However, the Shakespearean tragedy, as I call it, is extended in the love story of Roy also with his girlfriend, and that has a very naive and ominous kind of a presence, in that love sequence that is there. Elsewhere, the dysfunctional family of Michael is also extended to his spouse, Lena. The character is Annie. And that again creates a very unique kind of a dynamic. Now, why do I say this film is not a Georgie? This film is not a Georgie because the dynamics between the three brothers is not of malice. They are, joined by, empathy and warmth. In fact, professionally speaking, Roy has a difference with George and Michael, both these brothers of his, because, there was a contract that something went wrong in that contract, and professionally he thought it was unethical. But so in a scene, you see George, literally slapping, Roy, only for the scene to progress, and you see him, staring at him from a distance, he's just seated ahead in the car, and you see him with a lot of empathy. So you see the warmth and the affection that the brothers share for each other, which becomes an integral part of this film as well. Now, when it comes to that Shakespearean tragedy that is there, the event that actually unfolds, it's literally a Shakespearean tragedy because none of these conflicts that are being mentioned earlier, they link it to that tragedy. It's almost like accidental in nature, and in that tragedy, I'll not tell you what the tragedy is, but in that tragedy, you see a character, washing his hands of blood. And that was a direct reference to Lady Macbeth, Lady Macbeth from the great Shakespearean play called Macbeth, King Macbeth. And so I think there are these references which are sprinkled in the narrative as far as the Shakespearean tragedy is concerned. Now, this Shakespearean tragedy also will give you a vibe of Drishyam, the Mohanlal film Drishyam, and luckily the core of the film is an emotional one. It is not a crime drama. So one of the mistakes that you could do while watching the film is to treat it like a crime drama and then expect things to unfold like a crime drama. This is not a crime drama. This is a character driven plot, which means that the characteristics of the characters, they drive the plot points in the film. And I think that is the crucial element that you need to keep in mind should you choose to watch this immersive kind of a film. Whether this film is without its flaws, no, it's not without its flaws. I felt that once the investigation kicks in the second hour, it kind of gets a little bland, a little too sloppy for my liking. And I think that was one of the demerits of the film. Even the final act, which was there, which was kind of unexpected, by the way, and the emotional core again was, intact in that, which kind of made it work, but it was still abrupt in my opinion, which is why my reaction immediately after the film was, pretty much dismissive. But if I then realized that if I have to join the dots in the film, I kind of liked the film. It was a pretty solid screenplay and pretty well done. Despite its flaws in the second hour, I kind of, liked it, to an extent. I did like it. I didn't love the film. It's not a banger, but it's not a poor film also. So some of the reactions that I was watching on Letterboxd was slightly on the negative side. For me, it's a positive. The screenplay is a positive here. Now, coming to the technical aspects, the dialogues, the music, and the direction, I feel the dialogues are very conversational, while also setting the somber mood in the drama. There is also a lot of subtext that is revealed through the lines, especially with respect to the past of the characters. And I think that, definitely added flavor and texture with the lines and the dialogues that are there. The music, and by music I say the song, that one soul song in the film is pretty good. It gives an old school vibe to the drama of an old school romance, while also, signing an ominous presence which would directly equate it to a Shakespearean tragedy. Let's put it that way. However, the BGM, I think, left a lot to be desired, not because it was bad, but because the use of BGM was not correctly done in the film as far as I was concerned. I felt that the sound design should have been a little better, and I totally understand where the thinking was, to treat the drama as an understated one and not be dramatic at all with an ounce of it. However, the sound design and the BGM, you just needed a little bit of a fizz, especially in the key moments, which would have created that kind of an impact, and I think that was a little bit of a miss for me as far as the usage of BGM is concerned, or the sound design of the film is concerned. Sound design was a little, it relied too much on the natural sounds, which really didn't come together for me as a film. However, the cinematography is excellent. The frames, of Idukki, the district of Idukki, which is, I think, Munnar, if I'm not wrong, you can correct me in the comments, is absolutely beautiful, and it gives that ominous presence. The cloudy layer in the sky, just almost being translucent with the view of the tea fields or the cardamom fields that are there. It just acts as a perfect Shakespearean tragedy in its setting, in its ambience, in its atmospherics. It, I think, does a wonderful job there. The editing also is pretty good. It doesn't have any jump cuts, which take you away from the moment. It actually is designed to be immersive and, invest in the journey of the characters, and I think that was a pretty good element in the film as well. Director Sarath Chandran, RJ, I think his name is. So Sharath, I think he did a pretty good job, handling the nuances and the dynamics as far as the characterization and the world building was concerned. Very well handled that subject. He allowed time, to form your opinions about the characters without any spoon feeding, and I think that was a very nice way of narrating the film. There was no exposition of too much information. It was a nice build up to something that was startling, if it can happen to any of us, absolutely. So I think that was pretty well handled. Yes, I felt that the investigative part, which was the final act, essentially was a little sloppy, where the director kind of lost his grip, only to be little pronounced again in the final act. But largely I think Sharad does a pretty solid job. You have to give it to that. It's a very unique kind of a niche kind of a film, almost in the zone of family. If you've seen the Don Palatara film Family, it's very much like that. Your Narayan Ninte, Munak Makkal, I think that was again another film that had three brothers who are assembled in a dysfunctional family, or Georgie. The mood is exactly that, somber, poignant, and atmospherical, you can say, if that's a word. Coming to the performances very quickly, the performances are magnificent. I think the performances hold the film together. Kani Kusruti is there in the film, and her character is particularly impressive because the execution in that sequence was a bit of a problem. She plays the chief investigating officer, so I think her presence, held the narrative to a point that I was not losing interest at any point. Although the underwhelming aspect was definitely there, but I was not losing interest completely. So I think that was one aspect that she held on to very well. Zareen Shiab, I think she's a very talented actor. I think she's superb. Body language, her eyes, do a lot of the talking. I think she did a wonderful job as well there. Wonderful job. Lena also makes a presence felt, as does Hemant Rao. Vijayaraghavan also, the legendary Vijayaraghavan, does a wonderful job. Very nuanced, very restrained with his performance. Not as memorable as Appu in Kishkinda Kandam, but nevertheless still very impactful in his, posture and demeanor, which brings me to the two favorite characters of the film, and that has to be Kalabhavan, Shahjahan, and Dileesh Pothan. I think these are stellar performances. Kalabhavan, I just recently saw him as a thug in Bromance. He was outstanding with his comic timing. Here, his character is completely different. He has a pragmatic approach to it, but there are also, byproducts of greed, byproducts of guilt in his character that add layers to it. And I think it was a wonderful performance with the manner in which he brought emotions to the table. Dileesh Pothan is an acting masterclass here. He delivers an acting masterclass, and there's no two ways about it. The smaller restrained nuances that his body language brings out with respect to the guilt of his character or the suppressed emotions. How do you showcase that? Watch this performance, to showcase how do you perform, when you have suppressed emotions and nothing to show. And I think that was the greatness of the performance. It was such a wonderful performance, very palpable, very emotional, very empathetic, and it just left a little void in me, I would say, at the end. So it was a wonderful performance. Dileesh Pothan, both of them, all of them collectively deliver a wonderful performance. Probably if I have to stick my neck out, it will be a best collective performance of the year as far as the Malayalam film industry is concerned. It's that good. Oh my god. So overall, I felt that OUSEPPINTE OSIYATHU is a very niche kind of a film, but should you choose to watch it, I would recommend that you actually try and immerse yourself in it, because the narrative is immersive. It has a lot of subtext to it. Pay attention to that as well. And should you do that, you will understand that this is a drama that is packaged as a Shakespearean tragedy, right from the first go to the last. And it has immaculate performances. I don't know why people are not talking about this film, and I thought, thanks to my subscriber once again, Satish, if you're listening, thank you so much, for recommending me this film, egging me to watch this film, and I finally got my chance. Sorry for the delay as well, but it's a wonderful film. Yes, it is flawed. It's not a perfect film by any stretch of imagination, but it deserves a lot more attention than it is actually getting. It is streaming on Amazon Prime. If you have watched the film, let me know in the comments of what did you make of it. And these are the kind of films that you also need to promote, if you're a cinephile. So this video, you particularly need to share this video with a lot of your friends and ask them to watch the review of it and then watch the film on it, or reversely, you can watch the film and then come back to watch the review as well. It's a wonderful film. If you're liking this video, by the way, also, then remember to smash that like button, or alternately you can also smash the dislike button. Any engagement helps a small creator like me. If you watched it, let me know in the comments on what did you make of it. What are the subtexts that appeal to you? Did you watch it in a theater, on Prime, or Manorama Max, where the film is also available on OTT? Let me know any of your thoughts, and I'm willing to have a discussion on this. Once again, thank you to Satish. Also, my detailed review of the film is available on my site, Popcorn Reviews with the double S, the link of which is in the description box below. Remember, to visit my site as well. Also follow me on different social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Letterboxd, and Nokia. All information present in my description box here. I do not end up making a video on everything that I watch, but I do write a lot. I have written 2 lovely reviews of Final Destination Bloodlines and the final Mission Impossible 8. that reviews are on my site. You need to visit my site also. I'll see you again soon with another video. If there are any recommendations, throw me like this. I would love, these discovering these gems in the future. If there are any recommendations, let me know. Any year, don't worry about the year, just drop me recommendations. I'll see you again soon with another video. Till then, take care of yourselves and thank you so much for your love and support. Cheers.